So last week was the Dell Technology Forum AI edition. They call it Accelerate from Idea to Innovation with AI. You basically had like a lot of like different companies there. AMD was there to present Turin server. You had Nvidia doing a workshop about like machine learning. Intel, Qualcomm were there to show their new laptop. Also Dell, of course, because Dell was hosting the event. So I just thought about giving like my quick thoughts about like the event, how it went, what I like, what I didn't like. So let's start with what I really like. I didn't shoot like B-roll on the floor. They had professional like cameraman there and photographers, but like because it was like a business event, I was going and with different workshop and things like that, I didn't really feel that I needed to document it. So it was quite well organized. I think we had 2,000 people over Canada. There was maybe 400 like Dell employees. It started at 8 and I was there at 8 at the Toronto Convention Center. And what was interesting is that when you get there to get your badge had like a QR code, of course, so people could scan it. And like if you stop at one of the coffee shop there, it was free, but they would scan your ID. I'm assuming also that vendor was scanning your ID to have email lists, but the lanyard they were giving you was blue if you were an attendee. It was orange if you were an employee from Dell, and green if you were a sponsor. That was super useful during the day because you could spot like easily like Dell employees, like if you needed like more information about where to go, what to do, or things like that. So that's one thing that works super well. From 8 to 9:45, it was like mostly like breakfast and networking. So I used that time to just look a little around the show floor. I had very good discussion like with Dell engineer. We were talking about like and also other different company. They all gave the same advice because they were of course showing their AI powered laptop. Like for Qualcomm and Intel, it was over 40 to 45 NPU tops, and for like I think Dell right now the laptop were 15 to 20. So the new one will eventually get there, but like because I work in data science, the advice I got was like, yeah, basically get something with 40 tops at least because it's gonna be more useful for you. The advice I got maybe 4 or 5 times, they were basically saying if you buy a laptop now for enterprise, do not buy one that doesn't come with some kind of AI acceleration locally. I think what they were trying to say is that basically, it could be 6 months, 1 year, 2 years with like Copilot Plus or their AI tools that will like continue to grow, and that like if you buy for your business laptop that don't have that GPU acceleration that NPU acceleration when it's taking off, then like those laptop could be less useful and the employee less productive. It was an interesting way to see it. The thing is, of course, cost will always be a deciding factor. I'm not a person that will decide that for like my business and my day job. But like if you have a $100,000 budget and the laptop with AI are 1,000, you can get 100 laptop. But if $750 is the laptop without AI, then you can replace more laptops. So I think a lot of business will have those discussion and try to figure out what they do because there's still a lot of uncertainty. After the networking and discussion about that, like there was like talks throughout the morning. There was also a workshop at another floor, but a little more on that later. For the talks, it was super well organized. Basically, it was an open area of the show floor, but they had 5 small stage with chair there and a presenter, and they would give you headphones with the LED colors that the same color of the stage. So you had the white stage, the orange stage, blue, the purple one, and I don't remember I think the fifth one. So you would put the headset on and you would hear the presenter and the microphone because the sound would go through it. So they call it a quiet like um, conference. So that was really good for that. It worked really well in the morning. A little more issue in the afternoon. I'll talk about that. But you could just grab a headset, listen to the 30-minute talks, and then give them back the headset to be sanitized before the next presentation. I'm curious how many headsets they had to do that rotation like that, but it works super well. So at 11, you had keynotes. It was interesting. You had one person by Dell that talked about like them doing a study with 7,000 of the clients to see like what were the best practice about AI implementation. And their main takeaway was that it would work well in enterprise where the IT and the business side will be able to push in the same direction and not having conflicting information. It was also interesting when they mentioned that like 83% of the data are still local to the enterprise. And of course, there's privacy concern and secrecy and things like that. But what was super interesting about it is that they were like, we don't have the bandwidth or the power capacity to transfer all of those data in the clouds anyway. So we need to bring AI locally. So I think it was a good point to see like why we see a lot of like AI laptop popping up. Yeah, it's the next wave and craze for marketing. But with ChatGPT like basically becoming like important in the public eyes and like putting a focus on AI, now the hardware is ready, but there's still a lot of question about how it's going to be used in software. I mean, Copilot Plus is like I think $27 or $28 like by user by month. So there would be a cost for that for enterprise, but like the hardware is getting ready and roll up, and because they're a Snapdragon laptop now, you have like 15, 20, 25 hours like battery life, which is what the user is really excited about right now. After that, you had like two people from CAMH. Sorry, I didn't take note, and I think like the link is closed for like the scheduling and things like that. But you have two researchers from CAMH talking about how they do stuff with AI and their business. It was interesting because they brought two use cases that they're using right now. One of them is that they say once you get an accident, let's say that you're on a bike and like get hit by a car, they'll bring you to the ER, and then like they will by default do a CT scan, but they say it's gonna take a couple hours from a lab technician or a specialist to see the CT scan, but they will get through it. There will be human like validation of that. But they say like automatically when you do the CT scan in a couple of seconds, you have like an AI agent reading the scan and sending a notification if they realize that like, oh, this person should be seen now because like it's an emergency or they're in distress. So giving like the technician or the doctor there a warning. They were saying right now there are 70% right and 30% errors. In a business, that would seem like a lot. But basically, what they were saying is that all we need to do is the AI to do better that we're doing right now. And what they were saying is that those 7 cases that is right, we'll check them right away. And the three others that maybe are not right, well, so a technician is checking them anyways and say, no, I don't agree with that diagnostic, or we need to do more testing and things like that. So the AI is not taking any decision. Then what I found that super interesting is that there was like three groups that like went on stage at that price. You had the Special Olympic from Manitoba. You had like data dunkers and girl who games. I checked the last two when we had a little free time. For girl who games, they would use like Minecraft, which young student will use quite often, to build out a school that would like try to get rid of fossil energy. So bringing like young women into data science and using tool like Minecraft as a modelization tool, so they can get an interest in that, which I think is really important to have young women in STEM. As for data dunker, they were basically like they put on the stage, well, next to their booth, a tiny basketball you could shoot. You shoot two, and the data you could enter the data and in a spreadsheet, and automatically with Python, and I don't remember the other framework, it would automatically populate like some dashboard. So again, bringing like teenager to STEM and showing them like how good it could be and like how data science is something from the future. This initiative was in collaboration with Pascal Siakam, the ex-Raptors that is now with the Pacers. In the afternoon, I had a workshop with like NVIDIA and Dell about their AI Dream Factory. Well, it's going to be interesting to follow up with NVIDIA. I mean, because I've been ignoring AI for a long time in my job, even if it's connects. But building dashboard, building data lakes and big data and stuff like that, AI is going to be super useful to sort some of the information or build automatically dashboard for you. So knowing about stuff like site like Hugging Face to download machine learning script and framework already done, seeing all the different tools that are available, that's gonna be super interesting to test a little more in the future. AMD presentation was good. They were mostly talking to Turing and their own server that they had. They were also showing their new servers. So we saw a bunch of different servers, some from AMD, some from Intel, another brand. There was one that had 8 GPU at the bottom. So it was super interesting to have discussion about that. And honestly, just visiting the booths, talking about like one example was Dell OEM division. We didn't know that they had a vision like where you could ask for a custom let's say like you're building a couple server and you needed custom, like they were saying like one needed 16 PCI Express like slot, and then they're like, okay, we can build it for you, but then it's going to be under warranty from Dell. And so it was interesting to see what we're doing. They were talking about like different company that work, if you combine together you can make an AI agent like tech support. So they were giving us a lot of information about things that we don't necessarily like it's going to apply in my field, but to know that those custom solutions are important or that you can actually like ask for them from a big OEM is super interesting. I had a great 1 hour talk with Intel about everything AI, from also the cloud, the new CPU, and things like that. But that I'll try to do a separate video with more detail because it was super interesting to see like covering all the maybe like last couple of months or year of Intel news with that person and getting like different feedbacks and things like that. So around 3, you had Chris Hadfield, the astronaut, doing a talk there that was amazing. I think a lot of people were super impressed. Like you look at his resume and his achievement, and by the end, you're convinced and you're like, I'm ready to go to space. So that was an amazing talk. And like talking about like how the population will like maybe flat out at 10 billion, but that we don't have the resource for that. So we need to find the other solution for it. AI is going to be part of it. Getting water on the moon, like, and talking about how you like try to slowly improve incrementally like what you do to eventually like be able to reach your dreams and things like that. So I think it was everyone was super impressed with that talk. So that was a good way to finish the day. After that, we went for drinks with like some rep from Dell and other people that we knew, just for one drink and relax after a long day of like networking and meeting a lot of interesting people. There was not a lot I didn't like about the conference. There was just, I think, a little logistic issues that was not apparent for people. Is that like the keynote were supposed to finish at in the morning at 11. They finished at 11:16, which is not a big issue. But the problem is that the NVIDIA workshop about AI, that was a 2 hour workshop, started at 11. Of course, people that were there didn't want to leave like uh, while doing the keynotes, so we stayed there, expecting that they would just start like the workshop after. But when we got up at 11:15, of course, the workshop with NVIDIA started already. So we cannot go in, which is probably the most important workshop that I wanted to see during that day. So I think like it's happened a couple of times where a talk finished later, and if you were like at another place, you cannot enter or like participate in the other workshop. So I think maybe they would need to be spaced by 5 or 10 minutes more just to give time to people to get there. But in the end, I think it was an amazing like 1 day conference to just like regroup a bunch of like AI vendors from the hardware and software side and just see like what are the possibility